Welcome, everybody. Do we have a list of everybody attending today for the record? Yes? All right. Do we have anybody sign up for the public comment section? No? Okay. So I'm going to go to the next item. It is comments from the board members, contacts, and disclosures. Do we have any comments from anybody? Any contacts, disclosures? Anybody?
Can I ask, as a new board member, Chair, is this any general comments, or just regarding any disclosures from since our last meeting? This section.
Yes.
It's generally meant to involve if you had unintentional contact with other board members you need to discuss, or if you have anything on the agenda that you may believe you need to disclose for conflict purposes.
Okay, understood. Thank you. I have nothing.
No problem. Anybody else has any comments or questions or disclosures? Was anybody bad this week? No? All right, that's good. Very proud of you all. We're going to the next item on the agenda, the previous meeting minutes. Did you all have a copy of it? Had you time to review it? Any comments about it? If you're all good with it, I need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Sorry, this is just me being type A, but there's an extra 0 at the 5 p.m. at the top. I just giving me a little anxiety, but
Thank you.
that's all. Not a substantive issue.
It was a very strong 5 p.m. with a lot of zeros. Thank you for... See, he put that there to make sure you read it.
That's right.
Okay. So if there's no more discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Oppose? All right, the motion passes. I'm going to sign it so Trey is happy with me. I'm going to give it to the vice chair to sign.
Does it make a difference if I wasn't here last meeting for signing?
What's your question again?
Does it make a difference as far as approving goes if I wasn't here at the last meeting?
In my opinion, no. You have an official capacity to act whether here or not.
Okay.
You could abstain in voting if you don't feel comfortable with it, but that's your call. All right, so let's move to the next item of the agenda. And item 5 is the Executive Director update. So we're going to ask Trey to share with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Got a bunch of stuff in the packet for you guys to review tonight. I won't spend too much time on this, but hit the highlights and the bullet points on what we've been working on here the last 30 days. Obviously, we need to spend a little bit more time tonight on the safety language, which we'll get into here shortly. Just some quick director updates there. Again, we've talked about taking the OSHA 510 and 500 classes. I do have researched that, and are probably going to get involved in those courses here in March and in April coming up, so I'll keep you all informed of that. Also, I included in your packet of information, there's a little spreadsheet that outlines our member roster and the terms and the dates of when the team started and when that comes up with the expiration dates there. One of the things that will kind of be in the new business section that we need to look at is the vice chair and chair terms are only 1 year, which Fabian and Dante Gleaves, when he was here at the time, were appointed back in February of last year. So here on our February meeting coming up, we'll need to nominate new vice chair. I'm proposing that as a chair rolls off, that the existing vice chair moves into that role, and then we nominate and approve a vice chair role on an annual basis moving forward. That's something we can discuss at our February meeting as we get into that. And then part of the expiration dates of some of the members that are on that chart as well coming up. We've got most everybody's rolling off here starting in August, September, and October, which again, that's still a couple months off, but I just wanted to put a bug in everybody's ear. We need to probably start thinking about that. Speaking with Metro Legal here the past couple of days too, I think you probably, if you wanted to continue with the board and everything, it would be an easy letter communication to your appointing authority, whether it was the mayor's office or the council, to express interest in continuing with the board, unless you decide you don't want to be a part of this committee any longer. But I just wanted to put the bug in everyone's ear that that's kind of on our radar coming up with these dates and everything, because it will be here before you know it. Back to some of our project our highlights. Again, our current safety on our sites with our current projects. We have had no issues with safety or violations or anything out there on our Juvenile Justice Center with Bell, nor on our Hickory Hollow Mall demo project going on with Tiny's demo right now. So that's a good thing. I was notified today, just as a FYI, we've had some security issues out at the Juvenile Justice Center. We had about 10 vehicles broken into today. I'm not sure if it's something internal or external, but again, when we run into that type stuff, the GCs on site will file a police report and make all the documentation. We do have overnight security on that big project now moving forward, but they weren't able to capture anything on any of the security cameras right now. But it was in broad daylight today, like at 1 or 2 o'clock when I was notified. So again, we are addressing some security issues out there too. Again, over 350 people on that site. It's a big project, a lot of moving parts and pieces, and we'll continue to address some of that on the security side too. We did have a meeting today with Rackley Roofing. As I visit with some of the other subcontractors on our projects, we do communicate to them our safety initiatives and the things that we have in place, like our safety reports platform, and kind of doing some orientation with those folks on what we expect going forward. So we had a good meeting with Rackley Roofing today. Metro Water Services, as we continue to contact our different departments within Metro, we had a really good meeting with that team back on January 6th last week. They're eager to help get started with our safety reports platform. They do have a new safety inspector within that department that will be focused on construction along with myself starting next week on the 20th. So as we get him up to speed and on board, there'll be some more training opportunities obviously coming up with them, and getting them up to speed with our safety initiatives with that department. They do have a few new people that they're doing a reset with their organization in this area, and we're helping them work through that. As a matter of fact, they've already sent me their checklist of all their addresses of all their lift stations and pumping stations throughout Nashville. There's 85 of them that will add to our safety reports that'll be a part of our OSHA 1910 inspections with the maintenance side. So they're eager to get involved with us on that, and we'll keep you informed as we move through that department. Again, with Metro Schools, we're still in legal world on an MOU and trying to get those folks to establish a meeting to talk with them initially on our goals. We do have a meeting next week with the Metro Waste, on their items that we're going to try and cover with them too from a 1910 perspective. Reaching back out to NDOT and Metro Parks, we'll have some more information as we contact those two departments. But again, as we've talked in the past, parks, the schools, general services, and NDOT are really going to be probably 99.9% of our construction projects that we'll be focused on moving forward with this initiative. Moving down to complaints and contract issues. Currently, we don't have any complaints related to safety or contract issues. We can probably get an update from Ava and the team here if there is anything we need to communicate to the board. I did have a conversation today with our Office of Internal Audit. I reached out to them, which they kind of handle our waste, fraud, and abuse, if you will, where the general public can also run through Hub Nashville and notify or address any issues to that board. I did have a conversation with them on being a part of, any final reports or any investigations that they might have that we would communicate to you guys involving any contract fraud and things of that nature. Lauren, I think it was Riley that I spoke to, mentioned that they haven't had any issues on any fraud related to our construction projects either too in several years. So that was good news to hear, but we'll start a relationship with them and be able to communicate to you guys too if there's any issues on that that comes out of that department. Hub Nashville, one of the things that's in your package of information, I have a picture of it up here too on the podium. We've made some good strides with our Hub Nashville and our complaint process. We've developed this little poster draft that'll be utilized on project sites moving forward. If there's any comments you guys have or any changes you guys like to make, we can probably resurrect with Matt, I think was our chair for the complaint subcommittee, if I remember right. Correct me if I'm wrong. But if we want to pull together that, was it Ann? Ann's out this evening, but I'll reach back out to her, and depending on the members here, if we want to resurrect that subcommittee to look into some of this a little bit further and offer some different ideas. This was our first pass at putting together this poster that we'd use on site. There's also a page there that's a exploded view of what our little business cards will look like, that it has the QR codes on it as well. These will be utilized by myself and our team on the project sites as we communicate to all the sub-tier trades and subcontractors out there. We've also developed a QR code decal where we can pass those out for people to put on their hard hats and things of that nature. That QR code that's in your documentation tonight works. It does lead you right to our contract and compliance Hub Nashville complaint process page. The page is not active yet. We probably will make that live here within the next week to 10 days unless you guys have any other ideas or things of that nature. I will forward you guys an email tomorrow after this meeting that'll show some of those screenshots that we talked about in our last meeting of what that complaint process looks like. Testing right now with the Hub Nashville and our ITS teams has gone very well. The email that you see on there, which is hubccb@nashville.gov, is active and live now. Those emails come directly to me, whether it goes through Hub Nashville or not, and those will be on the business cards and the posters as well if someone wants to reach out with any particular issues or concerns. So that is active now and can come to me as we promote that. Again, it'll be on the business cards that we pass out and the posters that we'll post.
Trey, I was just using the QR code to scan to go to Hub Nashville. If somebody wants to do it anonymously, where will they go?
Yes. After you go through, I think the first two initial screens, it gives you that option in there.
No, it's only, I don't see any place to do it anonymously.
Oh, it's like it's 2 or 3 screens back once you put the initial information in. Once you get to where you have the contact information in there, I think it's probably the 3rd screen back. But we can go through that in the next meeting, and I can forward you those screens here in an email tomorrow that'll show you how all that works.
So if somebody wanted to do it anonymously, how will they know that they can do it?
Once they put in the location and the information that they want to describe what the issue is, the bottom of, I think it's the 2nd or 3rd screen, plugs it in there. They can choose whether it's anonymous or not, and it'll skip the contact information. And we do have a disclosure that'll read on that page too, that if they don't, put their contact information or not, we're still going to get the information, but we're not going to have any means or ways to follow up with them for any resolution or anything that we've addressed for them.
Okay, I'm on that page, on the Hub Nashville, and it doesn't say anywhere that you can do it anonymously.
Well, let me send you the screenshots tomorrow in an email, and I'll lead y'all through the steps for all that. Like I say, it's about 2 or 3 pages back. You have to put in the initial information, the complaint, set the location of where and the address of where the issues are that need to be addressed, and then it gives the option to do it anonymously at the contact page. It's okay. 2 or 3 pages back.
I don't know that I'm explaining myself. If somebody has to go 3 windows to get to the anonymous page, they will stop and they won't do it.
Understand?
So how can we do it to where on the first window you get in, it gives you the option to do it anonymously?
I can get with the team and see if we can move that up in the process to be even the first page. But yes, I can address that with them and see if we can make that happen.
Thanks.
Can I ask a question on this as well? Or first of all, would it be helpful to put in any of the materials that anonymous reporting is an option so people can know from the beginning?
We have it on the posters. We can add that language to our business cards. So what I'm planning on do, unless the
I
board
see.
thinks otherwise, is I'll probably have that business card and QR code on the back of my business cards with Metro. We'll also print the cards where it is English on front and Spanish on the back too. They'll be distributed on sites along with, as we have meetings with the trades. They'll distribute some of the QR codes and the decals for their hard hats. They'll
Okay.
take them to this link as well.
Thank you. Also on the poster, is it meant to be, I guess, less specific than the card, or should the poster mention the board and the email address as well?
Yes, it's all on there.
I don't know that the poster mentions the contracts and compliance board.
We didn't call out the board information specifically on there, but again, this will be promoted on the sites where this is the link for anybody complaints that would be related to any Metro government contracts or safety issues.
I guess I'm just raising it because if this poster is the most likely thing that a worker would see, I'm guessing, unless it would be this little card, it sounds like it would be the big poster.
They'll both be distributed on all of our sites.
Trey,
Okay.
are you taking notes to include the information she's asking to be
Yes.
included?
Okay.
Thanks.
Yes, if there's any red lines that you guys need or information that you want to add to these things, mark it up, get it to us. Again, if we need to resurrect the complaint subcommittee again with Ann and have another meeting to go through some of this more in details. These initiatives came out of our first meeting that we had of utilizing Hub Nashville as a really good resource and a
Okay.
link to the public to make this type of thing happen.
And
Thanks. Sorry, our lawyer wanted to make a comment. I don't know if, I don't want to miss.
If I might, there's a difference between anonymous and confidential. And under Tennessee law, we may not be able to control what is a public record if it comes into our domain. So I just am suggesting we be a little guarded about report securely and anonymously. But I can never assure that someone's information might have to be disclosed at some point.
That's a really good point. Thanks so much for pointing that out.
Yeah, we did have anonymously on that poster. I'd need to glance at it one more time, but we did change the terminology to confidentially and securely for that reason.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no, especially since this is a new board, and I imagine, most people in Nashville, and workers too, don't know that we exist yet. Maybe taking that opportunity to put the name of the board on as many things as possible so that they know they have this avenue, even if it's just, again, down here somewhere.
Sure, we can add that.
Thank you. And then I had another question on this one, and some of this might have been a review from last week. Will you describe again, I know if they come in through Hub Nashville or if they reach out to the contact information, they get routed to you, is that correct?
Correct.
And then will they go somewhere, where do they go for board review? Is there going to be like a database or something like that?
Well, I've created a issue log, if you will, basic Excel spreadsheet that I'll keep track of all that and document it. I'll report those inquiries to you guys on a monthly basis. Again, from our board functions and things that we've outlined to where we have authority and jurisdiction on, it depends on the type of complaints that we're going to have come in as to whether or not we can investigate them, address them, resolve them, or refer them to other state or federal agencies, because I know there's some of those areas that we just will be in a referral type situation, but we'll still communicate that to you guys.
But, I'm sorry, will we see those regardless of whether, we'll still see all the complaints made about construction sites,
Sure.
even if some of those determinations are
Yeah, this
more
issue log I
complicated?
haven't really showed you guys yet. But again, it's just a basic spreadsheet with all their contact information, what the issues are. I'll make that a part of our agendas and a document to review on a monthly basis.
Council member?
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to ask that the subcommittee reconvene so we could do some test runs of the platform so we could test any bugs. We also said that there would be some type of formula so we could level it out because we expect such a high influx once we do have NDOT and parks and water and all of the other departments. And so I want to make sure that it is in keeping with the vision that we had for this. We are way behind in where we had envisioned this board to be at this point. And so I want to make sure that we get this off the ground as quickly as possible. I do have a question as to where NDOT and parks are. Have they said?
We've had an initial meeting with NDOT, trying to honestly get to the right person that can leverage that. We are going to reach back out to Director Smith with General Services to make those initial contacts again with NDOT and kind of start over with those folks. Parks, we're ground zero right now. We'll again draft those letters for communication to them here probably within the next week to 10 days so we can set up meetings with them.
Who have you reached out to at NDOT and parks?
Right now, we've only met with Tommy Jones, which is one of their construction managers, but we're probably going to reach out to the director level for that department here next week.
Okay. Yeah.
I can't name anybody with parks. I'm not in tune with that department right now, but we're moving that direction after we get. I'd like to get schools and Metro Water up to speed, but we will try and reach out to NDOT again and parks and make some initial meetings and conversations.
And
here.
what's the holdup with the MOU with schools right now?
I'd have to reach out to Derek here at Metro Legal if he might could provide us some updates on that conversation.
Yeah, please.
Schools itself and whoever controls their construction has not agreed to a date to meet with their attorneys, me, and his team.
Okay.
And we've had a few invites, but I don't know if the holidays interrupted it or whatever. I'm not blaming anyone, but I've pinged some folks and when are we meeting, and so far I can't report that we've established a date.
Okay. All right. I'm a little frustrated at the moment now because I don't know if it's that these departments don't understand that they fall under this legislation, or if that we're not making it clear. Like, they do not have the option of participating or not. Like, they fall under this board, and they fall under the director's purview. And at the point when we hire inspectors, the inspectors will be on those properties because they are metro properties, and so they should not be surprised when they see people on there. So I don't know if it is me that needs to reach out to the directors to get them on board, to get them in a room so they could meet with us. If that is the case, then I am fine doing that. If it is MMPS that just isn't responding, I am fine with reaching out to them as well. We just need to get the ball rolling and get everyone on board. If we need help with that, I'm fine reaching out to them. That is the reason I am on this board as a council member, to help move the process along. We just need to move the process along. We are way behind on where we need to be as a board, and there is no way we are going to be able to make the case for hiring more staff and adding more money to this board until we move much further along in the process. So whatever needs to happen to make that happen, I'm happy to help.
Understand.
Okay, hold on, Trey. So, sorry. So there are two things that the council member suggested. One is that we set up the committee meeting, the committee that Anna chairs. So it's purview of the chair to set up call a committee meeting.
Confirmed.
So please work with the committee members to set up that meeting.
Okay.
And if the council member wants to attend, let her know. But the objective of the meeting is to, do you want to spell out what is your expectation?
I think we need to do a test run of the technology to make sure that it's working properly. And if we need to bring, people from the field who work with workers to make sure that we are looking at this from every angle, we can do that.
Okay. All right. So please call that meeting and inform the committee of what is the request. I don't think we need to make a motion to do that. So I'm asking that we do that. And
Okay.
I think that should be fine. I think
Will
it's
do.
a good request.
Who's on that subcommittee? I know Ann was the chair. Was there?
I think
Okay.
And Ms.
There's-
Council,
There is something else. The other thing is the council member is asking for some definition on the meetings with the different departments. And I don't know that we need to make a motion making this mandatory or give it some accountability, or you are okay to give some more specifics about the request that she's making.
I think for just clarity, if you need to send an email and add me on there. Generally, for executive directors from specific departments, if they're not answering you, like CC me on there, because the moment they see a council member on there, they respond.
understand. No, we'll make that happen.
All right, thank you. I want to make sure that it was on the record. Yes.
Thank you. Similar recommendation, as I was kind of getting up to speed on the board, that these MOUs seemed to be a big issue. So I just kind of want to echo what the council member said. And I wonder about even a formal letter from this body saying this is our legislation, this is our directive, this applies, setting out a schedule of some kind. It seems like there hasn't been a lot of progress here. And when the law applies, the law applies. So, and yeah, it seems like the next step, it's time for that. And I think maybe a formal letter from this body. We have to do our jobs. So
Understand.
that's where I am. I would recommend a formal letter. It come from us. Again, I understand for you to take the lead on those meetings, but something's not working.
Understand. We'll make that happen.
Well, I don't know that there is any ill intent or lack of trying or anything, but, if a question is being asked, it needs to be answered. And so I think it's a healthy point to get some definition on the lay of the land and how our things are unfolding. So I think it's a good idea to tighten it and see if we can get a straight answer. And I don't mind your recommendation of the letter. Does anybody else have any comments about having a letter?
So, council member, you mentioned that they fall underneath this legislation. So if we do establish dates, because I think that's what needs to happen in order to move the ball, is there needs to be dates established. But what happens if those dates aren't met? Like, are there repercussions, and who is responsible for the repercussions? I guess, what is this MOU stopping us from doing as this board as well, if they fall underneath the legislation that was passed?
The MOU is specifically for MMPS because they don't fall under this legislation.
Oh, they don't.
They don't, because they have a separate procurement office,
Right.
but they had agreed, since they did have the incident where a young man did die, they had agreed to this to have inspectors on their property. So we just need to pin them down for the MOU. The rest of the departments fall under this legislation. So we do have the ability to invite them to a meeting, be it someone representing their department, to answer questions. Outside of that, we can, the council body can ask them to appear before the council and answer questions. And we have specific committees that can do that. This body could inform the council that they are not participating.
So I had asked about the letter. Does anybody have any comments about writing a letter in favor or opposition, and what should be on the letter? What type of information that we want to share with the directors of the different departments?
I mean, it sounds like these departments, if the contact has been made, they understand what this board is trying to accomplish. They understand what we're coming from or where we're coming from. I think the most important thing is dates, is what are dates where things need to happen and get moving. As far as the body of the letter, I don't know how it needs to be phrased, but I think it needs to be something along the lines of, we need to get this moving because we're trying to make progress within these city contracts. So I don't think the letter needs to be lengthy. I just think it needs to get the point across that these dates need to happen so that we can do what we need to do as a board.
Yeah, I mean, we are responsible to deliver something, and if we cannot, we are in trouble.
Right.
So
So is the letter
I
going
don't
to be?
hear any opposition about the letter.
Is the letter going to be drafted by? Is that something that Trey will draft? I'm assuming.
Yeah, he's the
I
person
can
that.
easily do that. I already have something in place. We just haven't gotten to that point yet, but we can make that happen here this
But
next week.
If you all want to give him pointers of things you want to include on the letter, then legal can put the flesh on it, the meat on the letter. So we heard from the council member that the letter should, the message is, this is required of the legislation that we want you to follow up with. You mentioned something about some dates that you thought should be included on the letter. And what would you like to include?
A date, what particular dates? Is that what you mean?
I think he was trying to give them some sense of the deadlines that are expected.
Yeah, that was what I was raising before, that we need to give them, let them know that they are subject to the legislation and give them a compliance schedule.
Okay.
I don't know what those dates should be. We can discuss it, but I agree. I think something that they can follow for their rollout.
Okay. So anybody else have an idea of what should be or not be on that letter?
I think they are very much behind. So I do think that they need to meet and respond by the end of the month.
With some kind of answer.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other departments that this letter would need to go to? MMPS is separate, you said. That's fine. NDOT and Metro Parks is on here. I assume there are other departments that fall within our jurisdiction.
Waste services.
Right now, Waste, Parks, NDOT, and Metro Water. We're making good progress with Metro Water right now, but the only other ones that are involved in any type of construction project is Parks, NDOT, and Metro Water, those three.
Those actually capture, I'm going to say 99% of the total, so.
Maybe one way of doing this is to ask our lawyer to give you a list of all the departments that fall within this legislation.
In my opinion, any metro department automatically falls within the purview of this board. As the council person suggested, MNPS is a little different, and therefore that was the reason requiring an MOU. But the other departments, as to the remedies if they choose not to participate or provide
Yeah,
info.
we'll cross the bridge when we get there.
But yeah, in my opinion, I'm not aware of any separate metro department that would fall outside of the
Okay.
participation under this ordinance. that's
Okay.
now been codified.
So, Trey, do you all want to see the letter before we send it? Yes? Can you send us a draft to review?
Sure.
Thanks.
Should be able to send that to you guys tomorrow.
Okay.
Is the goal is to get it out before the end of the month, though, right? I mean, because it's Sandra said.
Whatever
So,
you.
I guess my question is: are we able to approve the letter, so remotely, so to speak, to go out?
I don't recommend, any of you recommend outside of an open meeting. If you have a comment, you're working with staff, that would be feasible. But ultimately, when you leave here tonight, he's been asked to prepare a letter. If you prefer to comment to him, but you can't direct it without action in the open meeting. So please I'm just trying to be extra cautious here in case someone ever wants to challenge that. But you can freely communicate with Metro employees, me, Trey, whomever, just as long as you're doing it individually.
Just to be clear, but he could take our comments, and he has the authority to send the letter without the board approving it. Is
That's
that right?
correct. He's Metro staff. He functions so you all can still continue to go between meetings and have something accomplished.
But we still want to see the draft before you send it. And then if we find something, we can always ask to hold that letter and discuss it at the next meeting. I mean, I can.
In my opinion, there has to be a little bit of discretion for employees within Metro to act. So
Okay.
if you're asking for a communication to be made to other departments, I recommend you can make your comments and hopefully trust that he'll consider those, and then he can author, because he'll be signing it. It won't have to be signed
Okay.
by your chair or the board itself. To the council person's suggestion, she can be shown as a copy on it, things of that nature. But if you want to, in my opinion, this is more sage than legal advice. If you want action to take place between this meeting and your next meeting, let the Metro employees assign those functions, perform, and it'll probably move it along. I will, however, say, he nor I have a gavel to compel someone to come to a meeting or whatnot. Those are decisions
Yeah.
made by those department leaders.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, Councilman.
Here's my suggestion. Why don't you entrust the executive director and myself, if he CCs me on that email with the letter, I will review the draft with the executive director as you all send some suggestions, and the final draft would be approved within myself and the ED as the final look.
What does the committee feel about it?
I would agree with that as well. I think to Derek's point, if we want to do something, we need to move along. So I trust Trey. I trust the council members. So I think at the end of the day, if the letter goes out and it doesn't have any of our comments in there, I think that we can have that conversation when we get to it. But we need to, I think, get moving.
Very well. So I don't see any opposition. So this doesn't need to be a motion. So we are making a request that you do that based on whether you work with the council member on the fine details of the letter. Thank you, Trey.
Understand.
Sorry that I interrupted your report. Please move forward.
That's okay.
Yes,
Moving
hold
on.
Trey,
a second.
just real quick, is that something, I guess, can we put a target date on that? Do you think you'll have something to
I
us?
can get that draft out there by tomorrow.
So if we get the draft tomorrow, and as a board, if we're able to provide comments, I'm assuming it's a single-page letter, so we should be able to review and provide comments fairly quick, I would think. Council member, I don't know what your timeline would look like to review and kind of work through that letter, but would something near the middle of next week be attainable?
I think if you all could have your comments in by Monday, if that works for everybody. Oh, Monday is a holiday, that's right. Then we could send it out. I could look at the final thing by Tuesday and get my comments in to you.
That's fine.
Okay.
Just make sure you don't send it to the rest of the committee, only to Trey. All right, well, that was very good. No more comments about it? Okay, Trey, thanks. Please
Good.
move forward.
Moving through the next page on the board briefing, kind of topic of the month. Again, in conversation with Metro Legal and stuff we've talked about in the past on having kind of more work sessions and things of that nature as we continue to train the board on different policies and procedures within Metro. And again, it's not something we can spend a lot of time on or anything, but just know that if we do want to have more detailed discussions, establish any other subcommittees regarding certain subjects, we can schedule accordingly. So just so you know that. Board leadership, I'll jump down to the bottom here on next steps and other notes. Again, with our current board vacancy right now is within the mayor's office process right now to nominate our additional board member. They do have an application and letter ready for the mayor to sign, but we probably won't see that person or know who that is till our February meeting, so I'll keep you informed of that progress. And then at the bottom, our meetings here moving forward again for 2026, again, are scheduled for the fourth Tuesday of each month. We will be back finally in a home, hopefully with the Sunny West Conference Center. And at Matt's request, we'll move from 6 o'clock to 8, so it gives you guys some times to get here on time. But those are the dates for the fourth Tuesday of each month. I will send you guys out some meeting requests so you'll have a calendar placeholder moving forward. And I feel pretty confident we won't have to change any of these dates except for, again, November and December, those are weeks of the holidays, and we may have to adjust those, but we'll address that when we get closer to that time frame. Back up to the board leadership, and again, back onto our main focus for the evening that we need to address and finalize for Metro Legal is our policy recommendations involving the contract safety language and pay application criteria, which I've again included those documents back in your package. I've also included everybody's notes and comments out there too, and we can choose to go line by line again or just address the global sections that each of you may have had some comments and clarifications on. And with legal's guidance too, we just want to make sure we start in with that tonight and make that happen.
Okay, that's the end of your report?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Okay, so the next item was the contract safety language and council recommendations. Before that, I wanted to mention that I won't be here on the meeting in March, so I hope the vice chair can attend. I wanted to give you enough of a heads up.
Chairman, is that February and March or just March?
Just March.
Just March.
All right. Yes.
Can I ask a question before we move on?
Sure.
So at the last meeting, we had the consultants present, and I know I had asked, and I'm not going to get into the contract safety language right now, but I know I had asked if they were able to provide recommendations. And I know that it doesn't appear that they were able to, at least in time for this meeting. But setting that aside, I just wanted an update on sort of what their role is. Are we still using them? Like, what is their relationship to the board? Because candidly, I just thought that they were really helpful. I think they'd be a good partner for us to kind of move things along, as Sandra said. And so I just wanted an update on the status of that relationship.
Sure. Here, recent communication with partnerships, Daniel, Julie, and Eric and their team. They were hired back, I believe, if I remember right, in July with a certain scope of work of, again, helping me get on board, communication with the board, any input, looking at our documents, making recommendations on, what this compliance board looks like moving forward. To date, right now, we have paid them in full. We haven't elected to continue with them yet. We will have more of those conversations here within the next week to 10 days. We are in a situation unfortunately, Daniel Viallo, who's a principal that I think you guys met at an original meeting, he has had some medical issues surface November of last year that has pretty much put him out of commission the last 60 days or so. Right now, they have not responded to any emails or phone calls and requests for looking at the contract language and giving any input and comments moving forward. So right now, I'm getting with Director Smith with General Services, and we'll assess the relationship moving forward here probably in the next week to 10 days and give you guys some feedback further if we'll continue with them or not.
Is that something the board will have input into?
I'm happy to get input from this team. Right now, to get into the weeds a little bit and the details, they have not fulfilled some of the deliverables and information that was a part of their original contract on supplying that to us right now. So we've got to assess that situation and communicate with them a little bit more and get them either back on board or we'll move in another direction.
Could you, I mean, I think it's important for the board to know what those issues are. You know, that seems to be, I mean, obviously, you know, I think that's very important. So, I mean, could you explain a little more what work they've done, what the scope of work was, and what hasn't been fulfilled?
And some of those.
Hold on. Before we go into that, because that may take a while and we have the contract to review, do you think you need to know that today or you can wait till next meeting?
Well, I do, because if they're making a decision on whether we're continuing that relationship, and also, frankly, this is taxpayer money that has been already spent, we've paid them in full, I think that's important, not only for the board to know, but for the public, there to be a public record of.
In that case, do you mind if we put that item at the end of the agenda, what you just asked?
I'm fine with that, if you want to do the contract stuff first. And
Yeah,
then,
I just don't know how long it'll take, so I don't want us to, because it's a deadline with it.
I understand. I mean, I think they're both important.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. Yes, Chair. Council member.
I will make a quick comment because I do have to leave at 7 for a MLK event. So I do have a comment on our contractors. So I don't know if I need to make it here or just.
Yeah.
I'm not going to recommend you stop any discussions first place, but understand Metro is the contracting party with any vendor, and there are purchasing division and procurement issues that control those contracts. Not that your voice isn't important in recommendations, but when it gets to contract, not construction, I'm talking about services contracts, those decisions are made within the purview of the finance department and other decision makers such as Metro Legal in pursuing all kinds of available remedies, whether that's for breach, contract cancellation and termination. Not that other voices aren't heard. I am a little concerned about asking right now might be revealing some information that for purposes of contract disputes, I'm not in privy yet to what those issues are, and I don't recommend public disclosures. You can have a conversation with your employees in Metro, but to bring it into a public setting, I just ask that you understand what's said here and publicly disclosed could come back to haunt Metro if we're going to get into any contract enforcement actions. So just please keep that in mind. But I'll stop there.
With that in mind, Councilmember, you still want to make a comment?
Yeah, because it still comes to me anyway at the council. Because we got to sign off. So, I don't know. Our partnership is a consulting firm that is very unique in the work that they do, that are a group of experts that you do not come across very often. And this board is unique, not only in the South, but in the country. And it is a blueprint for what we hope to see in other municipalities. And without their perspective, we would not have been able to make it this far. And so I value their expertise quite a bit. And that is all I will say at the moment, because I do have to head out. So I do apologize to the rest of the board. But you all have had my comments, and I do trust all of you all to incorporate that into this. I do want to state that I did have some comments as far as pay application requirements that I made at the last meeting. And I hope that that's a discussion you all will take up.
Thank you, Councilmember. Enjoy your get together. Yes. All right. So you're okay with later? Okay. So now I wanted to get your feel of how do you want to handle reviewing this document? Do you want us to just go page by page, or do you want to just flag the things that you're not comfortable? I mean, what is the philosophy in which we want to engage with the next step? Does anybody have any comments?
I think from me, I think it makes sense just to kind of go page by page. So, Chair, I don't know if you want to just, maybe we start at page 1, give a couple of seconds, see if there's any comments based off of the back and forth, because there's been a lot of back and forth, I think, across this entire document with the comments. So that'd be my opinion.
Okay. And I'm going to ask legal, is there anything that we need to stay out of, or we can just discuss anything we feel like?
Well, I reserve the right, if I hear something, to try to get your attention.
Okay.
No, I believe it's acceptable to open discussion about the proposed contract and what was the other document called? I guess this is proposed contract. Safety language is how I'm identifying it, the more lengthy document. And I think it was intended to be an exhibit to the first and shorter document was an outline of Metro Council recommendations.
Okay.
So
the first question I'm going to ask is, are there any comments about the first 2 pages in here? Yes.
So I had added
Sorry, these pages.
oh, those 2 pages. Oh, I thought we were looking at the actual contract language. No comments about that.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just for Michael again, those first 2 pages there that kind of outlined our council recommendations, in the red is what staff's recommending based on those functions that were outlined for the board on what we need to propose with our deadlines here right now. Then the actual safety contract language again is where we have all those other comments of what we would be proposing based on that, just to clarify.
So what I heard is nobody has any comments about these 2 pages. Oh, yes, you do.
Is the contract language, because I don't necessarily see in our function that that is a requirement from the recommendations. If we, because I will say as we go through, I'm going to have some global concerns. So if, for instance, we don't agree on the language, can we submit recommendations? I guess this might be to legal. And reserve the contract language for a later time, but again, submit the things required by the legislation by the deadline.
let me answer it this way. You've got to make your recommendations by January 20th, which is the day after. And the way it's been formatted so far is the recommended safety requirements in the contract language are being an exhibit to the recommendation. Whether it moves forward at council level, I can't tell you. At this late stage, I'm hesitant as a practical matter to say that you do it differently. I will give you this maybe as a, you've got this initial deadline to make recommendations. I do not believe the legislation can be viewed as forbidding you from supplementing later on. So that may give you some comfort. I think I gave that response at the last meeting. So, in the spirit of moving on and getting the ball rolling that we've heard here tonight,
Okay, my question was about these 2 pages. Does anybody have any comments about these 2 pages?
Well, the reason I raised that is because just if for any reason we determine we don't agree on all the language or whatever, then that would be a comment to the 2 pages to, you know what I mean? So I think some of that determines our ultimate discussion is all I'm saying.
and one of your other duties and responsibilities, just so you're aware, without time limitation, is recommendations to the purchasing agent and council for contract language. It's just, it's kind of connected here. Here's our safety proposals, but we're also saying, please put them in a contract. So it's.
Okay, so what I hear is that we are not ready to make a decision about these first 2 pages, so we're going to wait till the end. And we're going to go then into the first page of the safety language requirement, the contract. And if you all can read the first page, I'll give you a couple of minutes. And if you have any comments, raise your hand and let us know as a group, and we'll discuss it. Yes, ma'am.
I'll start with, I have some global comments that, again, may be able to be addressed. And if some of this is redundant of what you all have discussed in the past, I apologize since this is my second meeting, so I'm still kind of getting my footing here. But I asked for and received from Trey copies of at least the agreements that we have now, the general construction contracts, because I know last meeting we had some questions, like the full thing, that I guess it would be incorporated into. Because we had some questions about this language itself, and the response was, oh, that's elsewhere in the agreement between the contractors. So I guess I'm a little concerned about having this language just in a vacuum and knowing that, for instance, is it going to be kind of plopped in, or will it be an exhibit? Because as I read through, there were other things that might need to be revised in the broader contract in order for it to be consistent and not vague and things like that. So I think that was kind of my first global question.
Mr. Chairman, just to bring him up to speed a little bit too, back on the 2-page document of our council recommendations, this safety contract language is only a part of that C. This is something that we've part of what surfaced as we've looked at Metro's policies and procedures and where we can tweak and consolidate some of the safety language into one area in our contracts, because it was in multiple places. So that part that's on our 2-page council recommendations, where A is recommending the type and size of projects, B, which was whether safety plans should be a part of the procurement process, I'm saying yes in the red there, it already is, so there's no action needs to be taken there. And then C, any other relevant issues related to safety plans, and that's where the safety language comes into play. That's all it is. If you're seeing other things involving topics in our different contracts and anything, the functions of this board is only aligned with this safety information, nothing else.
And I think my question is just, and some of this, I'm not trying to bog us down or anything, but if this language, if we approve the words of this, and it verbatim gets put into this, that's a challenge if I see other things within this that aren't right now consistent with this, and I don't want it to create an enforceability issue. Is that wraparound thing going to happen with legal? I think.
This body's making a recommendation that's going to go to Metro Council's office. Then the Metro Council, if it moves out of that council's office, will determine if and what it wants to do, subject to what your purchasing agent may agree to do. As far as overall contracts and when it goes into a construction contract, ultimately that'll be a call of legal. We will endeavor to make things not inconsistent and so forth. To the extent I made a legal comment on my review of this, it's more of a point in place. You all are thinking globally. We've already thought of some of these issues. But just because you're recommending contract language doesn't mean it'll be adopted that way or implemented that way. But your input is important to get us started. if that satisfies
Okay.
what the purpose is so far.
No, that helps. Thank you.
So, you satisfied with the answer?
I do. I do have more comments on page 1, though.
Yeah, that's where I want to go. So, if you're okay with that, then let's start going through the first page. And does anybody else have any comments? No? Okay, we'll go with her first, and then you.
For me, mine is under, because I think I know what you're going to raise, but I did have on 2.1, I guess. My comment there was about putting in the language what we want to see in a safety plan and having that as part of the language. And I know that you sent ones that have typically been used in the past, but I think part of the reason we're here is because we want to have more specifics on what we're looking for. So I would just recommend that those things be included in the language as to, especially since our function is to advise on the scope of a safety plan of what elements we want to see in that safety plan in the contract.
So what are those elements that you think are missing?
Well, it just says the safety plan, it just says shall describe job site safety measures and gives a few examples, including, I would recommend a list of the safety plan has to have all of these elements that we are requiring. I don't know what those things are. That was part of the reason I wanted to put this comment on there.
Okay.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
I think we got to be careful because, and Trey and I've had this conversation, we think construction as being construction, but within Metro, our projects are vast and paving, and you think about all the renovation of historic homes and things like that. So I can see where there would be a problem wanting to specify something, for example, on a building project, and then all of a sudden a paving project is totally different. So I get what you're after. I think the problem would be specifying all that out, I think would be difficult.
Okay, so we heard your comment. Are you commenting on this?
Yeah, so it specifies 29 CFR 1926. That's an OSHA regulation that essentially lays out a bunch of safety requirements for very specific jobs like scaffolding, like all those different categories are actually already in that regulation. And so, I mean, the way I view this is by asking for the safety plan to be compliant with that regulation, we're sort of kind of covering ourselves, but because to be compliant, you're going to need to consider, whether those regulations have been met.
Thank you.
So I think that kind of helps.
Is that okay with you?
Yes, yeah, if that's included in that, then I'm comfortable with that.
Okay. Yes, Trey.
Just to clarify as well, part of these site-specific safety plans are submitted during any of the GC's proposals when we put an RFP out for bid, and that information comes back at that time, and when it's evaluated at our evaluation process when we award projects. It's very lengthy, very involved in it, and to Michael's point, we don't want to spell out too much in here to where if we make an exhaustive list, we're going to miss something, where if we allude to a standard like the 1926 that he mentioned, we know we're covered. And if something changes, it's always going to be current requirement of the GCs and the subs, where we don't have to keep changing stuff.
All right.
Because we can't keep up with anything that's changed in some of these other authorities as well. So we allude to those standards to make sure we're covered.
Thank you, Trey. You're satisfied?
Yes, that's helpful. Thank you.
Do you have any other comments on page 1?
I have one, and some of this might be more of a question. Right now, there's no language of, does Metro approve a safety plan before they continue, or they just have to submit it and that's enough, or?
Okay. Sir?
Legal weight in on this question. When we hire professionals, the GC, the engineers, the architects, on their professional standards, we stand behind them fulfilling their job. If we approve their work, it shifts the risk to Metro from the professional and therefore, what's the purpose of having indemnity and insurance from the professional? So we think it's the better approach to say their insurance, their indemnity requirements protect Metro. You have to lodge this information with us. We get to monitor and dialogue, and then if they were wrong, they can't point the finger at Metro saying, well, you approved it, because that could interrupt that right for us to say, you got to stand behind your work. That was our approach, just so you understand why we specifically didn't think approval was appropriate.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I certainly understand that concern. I guess if they submit a safety or a safety plan initially that say is deemed not to be sufficient under the standards, then what?
It weighs into our evaluation process for the RFP and whether we award them a project or not.
From a purchasing perspective, the evaluation process, they wouldn't even be on the panel able to bid if they had not already passed all out. So.
Okay.
All right. Any more comments on page 1?
No, not from me.
You had a question, right? A comment.
I have 2 comments. In 1.1, in the highlighted language, it says, and/or other federal state entities having explicit jurisdiction over safety requirements. I just don't know what explicit jurisdiction means. Believe it or not, some people would say OSHA doesn't regulate safety and health. So my suggestion would be to change that language and say and/or any other federal state entities regulating workplace safety or something like that. I mean, explicit jurisdiction is like a terrible way of putting that.
Yeah, please.
This was legal's recommended language, and it's there for a reason, including if you limit you to regulations, you may not fall under statutory safety requirements. We don't have a comprehensive list currently of other than OSHA as regulated by Tennessee under TOSHA for anybody else having a safety jurisdiction. We can't point to nor find current law elsewhere. This leaves us the ability to adapt to future statutory and or regulatory adoptions. So that's why we thought it better to not, like NLRB, we've looked at their jurisdiction. It's not in the safety domain. They're in labor relations.
Right.
So
yeah.
That was our recommendation. Again, if you all, there'll be more bites at the apple after you make your recommendations, but this was our best judgment.
I just think, and I don't want to speak for the council member, but I feel like the spirit of that was to capture things that may still impact workplace safety that may not come directly from OSHA or TOSHA. And so, and I think the NLRB, does, do some tangential work that impacts workplace safety. Other agencies might do the same. I mean, it's a recommendation. We don't need to take it, but explicit jurisdiction seems like it, I just don't know what that means. But I can move on. The next thing was my addition in 1.2. I saw legal said, the sentence about joint and several liability creates ambiguity with the indemnity provisions. It's a good point. But I guess my question is, what incentive then if prime contractors have sole responsibility and you're taking that away from subcontractors, what incentive do they have to comply with anything? They're just going to kick it back to the prime.
You don't need to ask. Go ahead. I mean, I'm sorry. Let's do that.
Just to advocate, or not advocate, but explain legals, we're in privity only with the general contractor. And under our contracts indemnity language, all responsibility for any errors or omissions by any sub or any sub of a sub or anything else always has to flow back to who we're in privity with, who we have the bonds for performance to recover against, who we have the insurance to recover from. So if the responsibility ultimately flows all the way back up to the general, and that's where we have financial backing to come from. It doesn't mean that the sub shouldn't be attentive. I would beg to differ. They should be very attentive to what the general asks them. But we don't have recourse against a sub or a sub of a sub. We're only in privity with the general contractor, and all of our contractual obligations flow that direction. All of the bonds and insurance protections flow that direction. So we can't, we don't have any enforcement except against the general typically.
So, yeah, I guess the only thing I would say about that is, some of the language in here is that these safety requirements are incorporated into any and all subcontracts too. So I guess that's, are you?
The way that would be incorporated, it's up to the general to make sure they get their sub committed to the same stuff they're committed to, or the sub of a sub. In other words, we don't have the ability to jump into that conversation, but it would be a breach by the general contractor, in our opinion, in most circumstances, if they didn't enforce these provisions and get their sub to sign up agreeing to it and the sub of the subs agreeing to it. But our point of enforcement is really limited to the general or the trade or professional that we're in privity with.
Okay, so then, just to be clear, if a worker gets hurt on a job site, they work for a sub, can they, let's say they sue the prime and the sub together, can the sub say, well, can they use the indemnity clause in their contract, in this contract, to say, no, I owe nothing, it should just go to the prime contractor because he's solely responsible? That's what I'm concerned about.
I can't answer that question. I'm not going to know what the contractor put in his contract with the sub. I can tell you this, though. He can't contract away from his responsibility to Metro, but regardless of what's in his language with his sub or his sub of a sub.
Yeah.
And so Metro's right to protection of either being paid, if we have financial liability imposed on us, is to go back to the general, or from enforcement against the general if they're not adequately performing, we think something's amiss, we have the right to go to the general. But we don't have the right to step in between the relationship of the general and his sub or its sub and a sub of a sub, nor would, and I suggest we can't legally or lawfully, nor should we want to, because then that puts us in a responsible role and shifts the liability to Metro. Leave it to the contracted vendor and hope, as we have insurance folks that review these things and bond requirements, there should be sufficient money to protect us from liability. I know that may sound a little callous, but finance and liability and payment and money is really our enforcement stick and carrot. So, again, it's your document, your recommendations, but we have legal limits of what we can impose on a subcontractor and a sub of a sub, and it's really up to the general contractor. That's who we get to look to under the law, because that's who is in privity of contract with us. So, again, if you got some language specifically, I can try to review it between now and next Tuesday, but I don't hear what the specific proposed new language is for me to really evaluate further than what I've said.
Well, okay, so then if we were to, so it seems like your problem is with the joint and several responsibility, but if you just say shall be responsible and take the joint and severally out, would that be satisfactory?
Well, again, we already have an indemnity clause, and we have an insurance section that aren't part of this part of the contract. So our recommendation was leave who's responsible and lawfully liable to what's already in the contract.
Well, there's already an existing, are you saying not to take 1.2 at all? Because that was there before. I just made it make a little more, gave it a little more clarity, 1.2. So the pink there, 1.2 was already there. So are you saying it's your position that 1.2 shouldn't be in there at all?
Maybe I'm misreading these proposed edits. 1.2 is originally proposed.
1.2 was in there last week. 1.2 revision is what I added or what I proposed as a red line to 1.2.
Yeah. Legal was satisfied with 1.2 as originally written.
Okay. So then, but your comment was that the language that you focused on, the joint and several, I'm just taking his same language and I'm just making it a little clearer in mine. So I'm saying shall be solely responsible for period. Is that satisfactory to legal.
At the end of the day, if you still want to keep it there, you can propose that this committee adopt it. So if you feel strongly about it,
No,
then
I appreciate that. I want legal to be on board. I don't want to do something that, even if we ultimately recommend it, I don't want to do something that legal is going to say, don't do that, down the line. If we can all get on the same page, I think it's in our best interest. But point taken, I don't want to take up too much time on that.
I see this first page as setting up how we're going to do the rest. So you propose something, he's giving you feedback. So now it's like, what do we do between your proposal and the feedback? Do we go with the proposal, or we accept the feedback, or somewhere in between? As a committee, what is that we want to do with this page and all the next pages? So this is your opportunity to, decide how you want to take it.
I think I'm catching his concern. May I propose this? Take out the word solely and just say contractor is responsible for the safety of its employees, subcontractors.
So that was the same marking that I had. Is I think if solely comes out, I think that 1.2 in my mind is written, and if you take out the shall be jointly and severely, I think we're back at the same thing. We're getting the same point across as we had in 1.2. So my opinion, if we had to make a decision on it, my opinion would be to keep the original 1.2 language by removing solely out of that initial language in moving forward.
Well, the vice chair made a recommendation. Do we have any feedback from anybody on that?
Yeah, the only other, no, never mind. I'm fine with his recommendation, if that's the way we want to go.
It's fine. We're having a conversation. So this is our chance to have a good time with a contract.
Might be the first time I've ever heard of that. heard that.
I'm trying to be optimistic.
Yeah.
All right. So are you all okay with the recommendation? Yes? Trey,
Yes,
did you
ma'am.
get that? All right. So we're going to keep 1.2 without the revision and removing the word solely. Are there any other items on page 1? If not, let's go to page 2. Page 2 it starts with 2.4 and goes all the way to 5. Are there any comments or any issues with page 2?
Sure, yeah, I'll defend it. I literally took the OSHA regulations, so I don't really understand why it says not consistent with OSHA TOSHA regulations. It's cited there. The reason why I think this is important, again, it is entirely consistent, almost verbatim, is simply because I think it's an important regulation that often does not go addressed. I think part of this exercise is also to highlight certain regulations that we think are important. And, I think it's, the TOSHA, OSHA, fine, no, that's not a problem. But that's all I'll say on that.
Any comments about 2.4? No? Yes, sir.
The purpose of this is, as we understood it under TOSHA and OSHA, there's two options. The employees may elect to appoint an employee to accompany the inspectors. Or, if they make a particularized showing, they then get the right to have someone that's not an employee to accompany the inspectors. That's what was meant by this is incomplete. We had recommended they could, to be consistent with the total options available, that we don't limit the proposed language to just the one option, which requires a more elevated showing to even be entitled to have a non-employee on the site. So TOSHA gives the employees two options. That's where we were saying, and by the way, we thought this was the consultant going to get back with the feedback. It was for them to complete that picture. because the regulation offers employees can elect one of their own to go on these inspections. Think of it this way. Some contractors have a limited number of employees. They're not going to be able to afford to appoint an outside representative to accompany the inspectors. So sometimes it serves their purpose to elect one of their own to go and accompany the officials.
Okay, so he made a suggestion for 2.4, and,
Can I respond?
yeah.
No, I didn't. I guess I'm a little confused by that because I don't view this provision as limiting. It's just saying shall recognize that you have the right to do that. I don't see this as this is the exclusive right or the only path to do this inspection. That would. So I don't know if that addresses what your comment.
Again, it was just legal thought. They have two options. We shouldn't only identify for them one option because it may be impossible for some of these smaller construction contracts to have a non-employee. I think it's more informative, our legal department did, to give them the either-or option that the law affords them.
Yeah, so I'm totally, so how, I mean, do you want to propose language that would address that, or do you want me to?
To your point, we think identifying the regulation and the brief summary would just say they have the right to do this or select one of their own employees.
I'm fine with that.
That was the spirit of the comment.
So we heard from him and from our lawyer. Do we have any comments about this conversation? No?
Just one comment from a procurement
Yes.
perspective. I think what Derek says is important because you get small companies that are trying to be competitive. And the one thing we don't want to do as a board is drive up costs to where small businesses and
Sure.
WBEs and that sort of thing are at a disadvantage based upon, contractual language, so.
Okay. Thanks. So we have an agreement on the language?
So just to be clear, your recommendation was, just repeat, I'll write it, or did you write it down, Trey?
I haven't, but that's my question is there any words, language, or clauses within 2.4 that need to be excluded or revised?
Yeah, well, Derek had a good way of putting in a short and concise.
Yeah, I think they may authorize one of their co-employees or a representative who is not an employee of the contractor to the company.
And again, keep in mind too, we do have several GCs that do not have safety directors, safety coordinators within their employee, and they will use a third-party consultant to come do this type stuff, and that is done with inspections as well.
Did you capture his comment?
Yeah.
Yes? Thank you so much.
I like that. Thank you.
Okay. So we're all good with page 2? Yes? Okay. Page 3 starts with the point 6, and it goes all the way to the bottom page with 8. Are there any comments about that page?
Yes, I have some, if I can start.
Sure.
Section 6.4, I just have a comment. Part of the reason I put the questions in the comments is that I didn't feel to me that it was clear from the language. So just shall require attendance of all workers, or whomever that applies to, just so that is clear from the language, and shall provide to Metro. I would just recommend having that just for clarity.
Any comments about that?
I would agree. I think it does kind of read, contractor shall ensure attendance at all required safety meetings. I think that needs to read more of contractor shall require attendance at all required, which is a little bit redundant, so there may be a different use of the word there, but I think making that read as if it is required, because majority of general contractors do require that within their contracts with the subs as well.
Thanks. So we are, did you get those comments? Yeah, okay, thanks. What about going from 7 down? Anything else?
This is an idea that I just had since it's about incident reporting. Since we're giving them these posters, would we want to put in the contract that they shall put up the Contractor Compliance Board reporting procedure posters on site? Just an idea.
So you are asking us about that?
Or I'm just suggesting that Section 7 might be a helpful part of that and putting it out for discussion.
All right. So do you all have any comments about sharing that information?
I think it's a great idea.
Yes? Okay. Do you want to spell it out so he can write it?
Sure.
Trey, she's going to tell you what.
Oh, I guess I just mean the ones that are specific to our board. These posters. Are you saying these are OSHA?
I think you should describe exactly what you want to.
Oh, I'm saying,
Or to clarify the whole Hub Nashville thing, the complaint process, our business cards, the poster, simply just a mechanism of our initiatives to make awareness of on all of our sites that these are some avenues that are available to the trades for contacting us and promoting our initiatives.
yeah, I guess I'm recommending that this be something that we provide to the contractor and then the contractor ensure is visible at the site.
Yeah, my plan pretty much is we meet with each safety director and our GCs and subs on site is to put these up. We'll handle that internally with our
She wants
staff.
that to be
In the contract.
7.4.
Yeah, we can do that.
7.4 will be that they have to, right?
Yes, exactly. Thank
Okay.
you.
What about on 8? Any comments about 8? Thank you for that comment.
Thank you. I have quite a few comments about 8, but I think they're mostly, lawyer nitpicking and kind of making this consistent. I'll say this section 8 I really like this portion. So substantively, I certainly want this to be in there. For me, section 8 just felt like, was it maybe written by another author? Because I would recommend if we're going to use safety representative, use that term consistently for that appointed individual. Throughout the site, there's a few times where I was like, oh, is this a different role, or, is this the same person? So just making those changes. And I think mostly, do we need to discuss, that didn't seem like, we don't need to have more discussion on that, I'm imagining. On 8.2, I guess I mostly felt like, for instance, that first one doesn't really read as a complete sentence to me. So I just recommended something like very affirmative language. Contractor is required to have their designated safety representative meet with Metro, or, just make that a very clear statement. That's a complete sentence there. I kind of put some proposed language in my comment. And then I guess some of the bullet points under there, those aren't all necessarily things that look like they would happen at that first meeting. They seem to be ongoing obligations. So my recommendation was to have, maybe its own section, whether it be 8.2 or otherwise, be safety platform orientation, period. You have to do safety platform orientation. 8.3, ongoing obligations. And just separate that out so that it just reads clearly, because I thought it was a little muddled together.
That's fine. That is a
Can I just ask a clarifying question? Safety platform orientation, is that the stuff like you do basically, or is that something
correct. I mean, that's this whole section of 8 is new to our contract language. Now that we've adopted the safety report platform, it's requiring the contractor to participate in this whole endeavor. And those bullet points were just outlined of some of the things that we expect to be a part of that participation.
Is meeting with you in here somewhere? Because I think that's important. Like meeting with the executive director.
We really just
I know
call-
you will do it.
Yeah, when we use that term as just as Metro.
Metro, okay.
It wasn't specifically spelled out with a particular person other than just Metro / owner.
So my question was, she suggested
Yeah.
language. I wanted to know what is your opinion about the suggested language? And if there is no opposition, should we incorporate her suggested language into the document?
Yes. With the clarification, I think her language is good.
Yeah, I would agree. I do think that it reads with the initial and then ongoing, I think is a good clarification.
And do you have any issues with it? Lawyer? No?
I'm still trying to catch up. Which specific paragraph in 8 are we modifying?
I'm on 8.2, just because I think the language that I kind of suggested is in that comment TA 15 because it just says safety platform orientation with Metro. And I just was suggesting contractor is required to have their designated safety, who attends, and just kind of maybe just spell that out a bit.
Okay.
It just as a full, and I thought maybe my other point was that the bullet points underneath aren't all things that would happen at that initial meeting. So to me, that was just more of a formatting thing of maybe having it broken out between their safety platform orientation and then their ongoing obligations, some of which are in those bullet points.
So essentially, are you asking for the end of that sentence, or the end of the, right before the colon, where it says contractor shall, add that to the beginning of that phrase, contractor?
Well, this just says contractor responsibilities, safety platform orientation with
I know, but you're saying the contractor shall be responsible for that.
Yeah, so I guess I'm saying,
Yeah, I have no issue with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really all.
So Trey, you had a comment before.
We talked about this whole thing being a cut and paste deal out of something that I did. Yes, it needs some formatting,
Okay.
Yeah.
wordsmithing, and I'll try and
All right.
further bullet point this to where it makes a little more clarification. I'll separate initial meetings versus ongoing. Again, it's a part
thank
of
you,
all
yes.
the way the safety platform works, which a lot of them are familiar with, but we can clarify that.
So you got what she suggested. The committee is fine with it, so we want you to adjust it to reflect her comment.
That's
Okay?
fine.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else about page 3? We're moving forward. Next page. Page 4 includes from 8.3 all the way down to 10.2. So are there any comments about this page?
I had one comment in 10.1 about halfway through this paragraph. The sentence starts, this provision ensures workers and individuals on the job site are able, basically through the end of that paragraph. Is that something that's really needed in the contract language, or is that more just something that's describing what we're talking about further?
Yeah, I guess you're asking me because I proposed it. No, I don't think it's necessary. I think, and I just want to provide a little context as to why I proposed this language, and I'll keep it very brief. But a lot of, and I appreciate the comment, legal's comment about potentially including this in a work safety, like the work safety program we talked about earlier. But a lot of workers on job sites simply don't know about their right to act, like to be able to say, I'm not going to do this because I think it's going to put my life in danger. And a lot of contractors, there's often not really a definite plan in place for how to handle that situation. And so the spirit of this was to try to add at least something to recommend something in our Metro contracts that spells that out. I think that if the better way to do it is to say that, per the legal comment, that it should be included in the contract work safety program or something like that, I'm open to that suggestion. But yeah, anyway, but to answer your question more directly, you could take that language out.
Okay, yeah, and
Like
that's
from this provision to the end, that's
Correct.
fine.
You wanted to take it out?
I think take it out. It's not that it muddies it, but as somebody who reads contracts a lot, sometimes you get into reading contracts and there's things that you feel shouldn't be in there, and I feel like you kind of.
So you suggest to take that out, and you're okay with it. Do you have any comments about it?
No.
All right. Can you specifically say from where to take out and up to where?
Yeah, so it's going to be, this provision ensures workers and individuals on the job site are able to stop a job, task, operation, process that is believed to be unsafe or unhealthy and assist in controlling, identifying, and preventing hazards. if a worker sees something that is unsafe or healthy, they should be able to say something and do something without fear of consequences.
Okay. Are you certain that you're okay with taking it out?
I mean, are you suggesting you want to keep it in?
No, I just try to make sure that we as a committee,
I mean, I think it just describes the spirit of the provision. I don't necessarily think it
okay.
adds any.
All right, so we are taking it out, and thank you, both of you, for your input. What about 10.2? Yes, sir.
Just to emphasize here, in that first sentence, and I'm reading now from OSHA's guidance. As a general matter, there is no right afforded by the Act which would entitle employees to walk off the job. There is a distinction from walking off the job and refusing to perform a task. And I don't want us to mislead the worker into their peril of violating the terms, saying, we can walk off the job because it's unsafe. They really can't do that. The individual an individuals affected could refuse to perform the task, or if it's not in imminent danger, it has to go through, you make your complaint, OSHA gets the right to remedy it. So I'm trying to avoid putting workers in peril of walking off the job site because we've put it in our contract language.
What section are you reading
Well,
that from?
you just eliminated the right to refuse to perform a job task, but in the first sentence of proposed 10.1, it says workers it says the right to stop work. That's not the right language in OSHA's regulations. It's called the right to refuse to perform a task.
Okay, well, that's.
Do you want to
good
change it to
know.
the right to?
Yes, I would agree with that as well. I didn't realize that's what that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but that was why, and again, I was hoping the consultant could kind of build up on these recommendations. I didn't intend to act like an island, but the spirit is, as we looked at the OSHA's website, TOSHA and everything, we don't want workers to believe they can just abandon the job site. They refuse to perform the unsafe task until that's cured. But then, if it's not imminent danger, they go through the other reporting of all of that. So it's probably better to recommend that they continue to be informed of their right to report unsafe or dangerous conditions, and if in imminent fear of immediate danger, the worker has the right to refuse to perform a task.
I think I appreciate the point, and I'm happy to change it to, I forgot what you just said. I mean, I've worked with OSHA a long time. I'm looking at their website right now. I mean, it's always been referred to as stop work authority, the right to stop work. Setting that aside, I don't know what word you just said, but if you want to change the right to stop work to whatever you just said, I think that's fine. But I don't want to bog this down and then water it down by saying, well, you also have the right to be notified about this. That the whole point of this is to address those imminent dangers and what happens when you're in imminent danger, because a lot of folks don't understand that and they don't know that they can do that. And so I just want to be very precise about that.
Okay, before we move forward, can you repeat again what language will be appropriate?
May not get it verbatim correct, but this was the gist of the thought. That all workers on a job site will continue to be informed of their right to report dangerous and unsafe conditions, and when in fear of imminent danger or harm, of the right to refuse to perform a task, period.
Okay.
I think that's the two options they have. We can defend that clearly and expect that under the law that they'll perform that. One other distinction, just so you're aware of this.
Before we,
Okay.
Thanks. Are you okay with that statement?
This is what I would propose. All workers on a job site will continue to be informed of their right to refuse dangerous work under the occupational health and safety, and will be instructed, the rest of that sentence is fine, and then to Matt's point, we could take out the rest of that paragraph. So that's my proposal.
Okay, so What, do we have some kind of a,
I gave my advice, and you all can elect to use the language you choose.
yeah. All right, so you were going to say something before? No, you're fine? Okay. Do you have any comments?
I'm comfortable with what Michael just proposed.
All right. We have Michael's recommendation and we have the advice of the lawyer. And obviously, we appreciate your advice, but the committee is its own entity. So, Michael, are you still wanting to do it that way?
Just to change it to right to stop work to right to refuse dangerous work, I'm fine with that. I think that addresses the concern that he just articulated in my view.
Okay. Do we need to vote on this, or you're all good with it?
I guess not to kind of beat a dead horse, but dangerous work, I do think is a little bit loose. I think with what was suggested, and it kind of matches, it's similar to what was in the blue comment off to the right-hand side. I do think that that reads to where it's protecting the workers. I do like that verbiage a little bit more than just calling it dangerous work.
Would you prefer the right to refuse work that presents an imminent danger of death or serious physical injury? I guess, again, my point is that if we make this a general, you have the right to report and do all these a million things, like it reduces the utility of this provision to begin with, because then we're just rephrasing and summarizing your rights under OSHA. The point is to point out a very specific thing, and so that's what I'm trying to address.
Make a comment?
Yes, sir.
So for me, sort of what, along the lines of what Matt's saying, there are some jobs that are dangerous, right? And you know that going in, and you have all the protections and the things in place for that job. I actually like the imminent danger. So in other words, as a worker, if I see that I'm in a position to where it looks dangerous, I have a right to stop, right, or a right to say something, right? So I think we got to be careful with the wording, and I think that's a good call out that Matt just mentioned from my perspective.
So I'll just, to put it clear, I'm going to propose that we change the language to all workers on a job site will continue to be informed of their right to refuse work that presents an imminent danger of death or serious physical injury. Is that satisfactory to everyone?
Yeah.
I agree.
Is everybody okay with it?
Yes, thank you.
Very good. Good conversation. I appreciate wanting to make sure people know that they have the right to stop if they are afraid for their lives. So thanks for bringing that up. All right. So anything else on this page? All right. I'm disappointed to tell you that the next one is the last page. I don't know what to tell you, but this will be the page that goes all the way to point 12. Any comments here? Yes.
It's kind of a comment on the page, but I guess there was a comment made over here in the blue, looking for a recommendation from the consultant. It sounds like the consultants are not making recommendations. Are we?
Let's ask straight.
No. Sorry. Isn't this a legal comment? And I think legal thought that the consultant added this language, and so that's why they said that. But I was the one that added the language.
No, I think we're looking. We're looking for. Yeah, I think some advice from the consultants, which we haven't gotten.
I mean,
so.
for me, it's 10.2 a duplication of 10.1.
Did the consultants give you feedback on this? We haven't heard from them? Okay, thanks.
This was our concern. If we restrict the contractor's right to discipline an employee that in bad faith reports a hazardous, unsafe condition, refuses the task, delays the project, they likely could be disciplined for that, regardless of our contract language. So the goal here is to do the work safely, but get the progress made that is necessary on the contractor. So I was looking for the ideas from the consultant. How do you address this? Because the language in OSHA specifies an employee who in good faith does this, meaning I don't even want to use the possible scenarios or illustrations of someone in bad faith saying, I'm not going to do that work, but it could happen. That was what I was looking for.
So let me sidestep here for a minute. And we wanted to get feedback from the consultants, but we didn't get it. We can always send a future recommendation to the council. So this is not the last time we make a recommendation. So let's really finish this step. That way we can send it to the council and fulfill our commitment. And then later on, if we want to improve this, we can do it with a follow-up recommendation. Is that okay?
Yeah, I just, to respond, I just think, I don't think there's any problem with adding the words good faith in. I mean, I think the whole idea was to mirror OSHA anyway, in some respects. So, I mean, if you want to say, for workers exercising their right herein in good faith, does that
That may be a hanging period there. For the workers exercising their right herein, it says period. That probably...
It's a comma.
Can you say what point you're reading?
For the workers...
What paragraph? 10,
Sorry, 10.4. 10.4.
10.4, thanks.
For the
people that are watching on TV.
Yeah, sorry. For the workers exercising their right herein in good faith, comma, contractor agrees to ensure workers are not disciplined, whatever. And I believe that's consistent with OSHA.
Is that okay?
Without further information available, that addresses my concern because it does have good faith in OSHA.
Okay.
Did you say good faith is in the language of OSHA? Okay. Because my concern otherwise is who's then determining good faith. But if it's already in the law and that's already an issue anyway, then.
Okay. Any other comments about this page?
Sorry, I did have one on 12 in the highlighted portion. When we say written notice of contract default, suspension, and or disbarment based on Metro finance and procurement, I guess what is, like, this may be a stupid question, but what is, why is Metro Finance or procurement making that determination? Is that usually who makes that determination? Is that why?
Who are you asking?
I'm asking anyone who knows the answer.
Who wants to answer?
But I feel like he probably knows.
I think, based upon the internal finance, so for example, using Ava, the General Services Department, if she comes to us and we have issues with performance, usually we will talk with legal regarding breach. And at some point, if we can't get it corrected, I have the right to either suspend the supplier or debar them. So suspension is usually 1 year, debarment's usually a 3-year time frame.
So this is just reflecting let's just say the existing practice. Is that what you're saying? Okay. This may be a groundbreaking idea, but is there any reason we can't add the board to that language, like us as an authority, like as a body, that we should have the ability to make those recommendations?
Yes.
That is not in your duties and responsibilities in the legislation that formed you. And there was a provision at the end of your duties and authorities that said that nothing can be inconsistent with the purchasing agent's authority. And that's rests with that office under how Metro is established. So whether you can have input or not, sure, you can make, that's why he's on this, to hear your comments, but you cannot compel Metro to act in regard.
Yeah, and I think I just said recommend. I wasn't saying, I think this is also, that's their determination,
Yeah.
but
I didn't want you to think you all aren't heard if you make a recommendation, but ultimately there are mechanisms in place, and sometimes the carrot and stick approach gets the action we want from the contractor or the architect or the engineer by asking to first perform or you're in breach. Beyond that, we can look to disbarment, meaning you can't bid in the future. I mean, these are levels of approach.
Yeah, and I get that. I think my only thought is like we're a contract compliance board, right? Like that's our job. So I mean, it feels like we should at least have some input in maybe making that a contractual point. Again, to the extent that that's adopted, so that it comes to us, that would seem to make sense. But
So, are you making a recommendation to include that in the text?
yeah. I mean, if I guess I would propose it to the board, and if other people agree. So I guess I would say based on I would add in that bullet point a recommendation from the CCB, and you could just, subject to Metro Finance Procurement, including Business Assistance Office's final determination or something like that, Or do you not like?
I think if you mean it only takes place on a recommendation from you all, you're limiting Metro's internal abilities to manage and do contracts. My point is this: if you want to confer on yourselves any authority that's not in your duties and responsibilities, I recommend you don't do that. Instead, ask for counsel to add to your duties and responsibilities. But you can't contract to yourselves, or Metro can't contract to you what you don't have legislative authority to do. And it could get to be a problem. So if you want to include you all in the step, I recommend that be corrected via legislation. But if you all want to suggest, based on what you're hearing, this contractor's not doing a good job, you have the audience with the purchasing agent, and that's then going to be taken into that, and finances and all these other bodies that Metro ultimately determines, because that's already in law. They make those decisions.
If I can make a comment, I agree. I kind of had the same thought on this area and really as we're going through it, the language doesn't really reference us at any point yet. Maybe this is even if we are just using the language from our function, and maybe we avoid the exactly what we can do in the contract, but to say, the Metro Board of Contract Compliance is monitoring compliance related to your safety plan or something like that, just to emphasize that this is a body, we exist, we are monitoring you, even if we aren't spelling out exactly what we can do.
Where
Perhaps.
would you put that paragraph?
I suppose, well, I guess that's not specific to non-compliance. I guess it could be its own section just called Metro Board of Contract and Compliance, could be somewhere in the contract. Maybe before this section, could be new section 12, for instance, to say this board exists, its function is to monitor compliance and report its recommendations.
Okay. Yes.
I guess I don't necessarily see what we're accomplishing by adding that language in there. So we know that we're a board. There's the legislation that gives us the powers that it gives us. If there ends up being, I guess, somebody that comes in with an issue and we're reviewing that issue, I don't think it necessarily needs to be in this contract language with the general contractors or whoever the procurement agents have contracted with. I think ultimately it still comes down to the procurement office for what they're going to do. We can talk about making recommendations of whatever we need to with them, but I don't see a positive to adding it to the language in this portion of the contract.
One thing I would say, I'm looking at the statute now, one of our obligations is, and I'm quoting, make recommendations to the Department of Finance for policies and practices regarding construction contracts. I mean, I would argue that this is sort of in that, but anyway, I don't want to, I mean, if
Okay, Trey wants to
People don't
speak.
Yeah, I mean, we're still outlined in our functions are only be able to make recommendations.
Okay.
And I would probably want to investigate with legal as well if that would be stepping on any toes with the Business Assistance Office and what their powers are.
I heard from him and from her. You disagree. Do you have any comments?
I tend to agree with what Matt's saying. I think in my mind, and once again, I'm thinking of Ava and the people that are contract managing, they have responsibilities, and the one thing we don't want to do in this document is think, okay, well, there's some board out there that I report to and not Ava or not Mike, right? So that would be my only comment.
Okay. What do you think?
I guess maybe this is a question for legal, if this would be correct, for that first sentence under 12. And this is just an idea to see if there's, what these safety requirements may result in the following actions by Metro, or a recommendation of action by the Metro Board of Contract and Compliance, and just maybe identifying us as having a recommendation authority. I agree. I guess I feel, just to make a quick comment, Metro and all of those departments are very well represented in this discussion, and, you know, workers are not, obviously, and that's part of what I'm trying to do, but maybe that doesn't have to be in this language. So I guess it's up for discussion. It's more important that the workers know our role. But that was just an idea for if that language would be correct. Actions by Metro or recommendations or something.
Again, I viewed this paragraph as after you all may have made recommendations, or Metro has determined. This is the paragraph that says, these are the remedies we have available within Metro.
Yeah.
I don't think you all have a remedy under the law. The remedy is exercised by Metro. Not saying you all don't have the right to make recommendations.
But at the end of the
but
day,
it should
we're
be
not
in a
making the
different-
decision. It's just a
That should be
recommendation.
somewhere else if you're going to
Yeah,
want
I'm
to
just
emphasize
saying-
your ability to recommend. This is sort of, you know,
Hard disciplinary actions. Like,
Yeah, it
these
may
are
be helpful.
enforceable.
Yeah. It may be helpful for them to know of this step, but I'm not married to it, so.
So this is an interesting conversation. I just want to make sure that, I mean, it's the last conversation we'll have about this contract, so I want to make sure you guys are all satisfied with your opinion. You seem to have, seems to be okay not to include it?
I'm comfortable with it for now. I think some of it, we're still fleshing out how this is all going to work, so maybe this is more of a discussion for a later time
Yeah,
anyway.
I just don't want you guys to give up. I mean, if you're passionate about something, it's fine. Hold on, he wants to speak.
Yeah, I mean, just to put my opinion out there, I tend to agree that we should have something about us, that we exist. I don't see,
We're not listed anywhere
even
yet.
if it just says that we make recommendations, we could do it as a sentence. I don't think that's a huge deal, but if, you know, I mean, that would be my vote, so that's all I'm saying.
Yes, Trey.
So in the highlighted part there under 12, written notice of contract default through the end of that sentence, then add and recommendations involving the Contract and Compliance Board, period.
I think it would be more of a global one that could apply to any remedies, because we could recommend any remedies, right?
We can recommend anything, right? I'm kidding.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so I think we tabled it. I have the impression that you guys decided to table it for now, or you still want to go at it? I mean, whatever, I mean, just feel.
I mean, my preference is that our name is listed somewhere in this document. It isn't yet. Just that we exist, we make recommendations, just so that they're notified of it. Doesn't have to be anything too substantive.
I think tabling it for now and trying to find where a good fit is. I don't necessarily disagree that we should list it somewhere in here. I don't think this section is the proper place, and I think without going through the entire document and figuring out a spot, I think that we may just want to read through it one more time and see if you suggest a better spot for it to be.
Personally, I tend to agree with the philosophy of including who we are in the document, but I have a feeling you want the workers to know it, and the workers are not going to read this.
Right. I think
So-
it's important for the contract, again, even just to know that we're here.
Yeah, no,
Not
I
to-
don't mind having, but I just want it to be a deliberate effort to make it, like you were saying, flesh it out in a way that ties it all together. So hopefully in the next recommendation we can include it, if that's okay with everybody.
The next recommendation is whenever we do this again
Yes.
after our January deadline.
Yeah, I mean, it could be next month if you want. I mean, there's no limitation. It's only our capacity to do things.
I've said where I think, I kind of have my position that I think it's helpful to have action by Metro or on recommendation of the board. I think that's what I would.
All right, so let's
towards,
keep
yep.
talking about it. So, yes.
Well, so I think we're not ignoring that, but if we are trying to make a recommendation, then we've been going for a year and a half at this point, and we're yet to make a recommendation. And I think with this, outside of this issue, I think we're close enough to where this can be finalized, and I believe it can be submitted. Mm-hmm. So whether we talk about this in the future, again, if we have the ability to make another recommendation at a future date, I think we at least need to get something going.
Council agrees totally because there's not a time limit on your ability to propose contract language. But what you are under the time limit to do, that is kind of incorporating these contract language inclusions, is to make, should the safety plans be required, and you can still, however it's proposed for the contract language, address the references and issues to the CCB without concern that you haven't made your recommendation timely on that fact or on that issue. But the safety plan requirement and the pay application, that's the one you're under a deadline to get your initial recommendations in on.
Thanks.
That's my 2 cents.
Emma, what was the sentence? Can you repeat it for me?
Well, I know it's hard
you
to
had-
just do it kind of on.
I know.
Failure to comply with these safety requirements may result in any of the following recommendations by the CCB or actions by Metro, just including both parties.
Yeah, I just added on the end of that sentence highlighted and recommendations involving the CCB.
If you add the word "and," does that make it a double requirement?
That is my concern.
And or.
Well,
I think I put.
I think the CCB can make recommendations,
Yeah,
but Metro
and/or.
isn't required to receive a recommendation from
Right.
the CCB before it enforces safety and whatever. as
Yeah,
well.
maybe and or
So we-
is more.
Yeah, I think that was to the point.
Just
Yeah.
or, right? I mean, I'm not a fan of the and or because what the hell
I
does
said
that
or
mean?
the first time for that reason because yeah, but yeah.
I'd be comfortable with or, I just don't agree with the word.
Yeah, I don't think and is right. But
This is the most lawyerly
I know.
conversation.
Is this board considered, whenever we reference Metro, the owner, is this board considered Metro or is it something separate?
It is Metro,
So,
but that doesn't give you the authority to invoke the
Right.
powers you don't have.
So where I'm going with this is because Metro is listed under the heading of 12, after written notice, failure to comply with these safety requirements may result in the following actions by Metro. I think we can create a separate bullet point that says review or recommendations from the Contract and Compliance Board.
I like that.
Is that-
The non-lawyer for the win. Thank you.
Leave it to a construction worker.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Did you get that?
yeah, so Trey, I think we just need to add a bullet point that, again, says something along the lines of review and possible recommendations from the Contract and Compliance Board.
And you all okay with that?
Yes, I like that.
All right, well, thank you all for a very good conversation. And that ends the last page. What else do we have to, are there any more things you wanted to share with us on this packet?
More
Sorry, hold on,
information.
before that, do we need to make a motion to adopt this? Yes? Okay, so before we move forward, does anybody want to make a motion?
Are we making a motion? Sorry. I just want to understand what we're moving to do. Are we making a motion for Trey to adopt these changes and then just
Submit them,
finalize it, basically?
submit them to the Metro Council.
Okay. are we able, not that I don't trust Trey, but are we going to see it again? We're not going to see it again, right?
You
Like
can
that-
see it again, but he's not going to
You
wait.
can't, yeah. Well,
The motion is going to have some liberty that he's heard your comments and incorporates them properly. This is the holiday weekend. He's got to get the work done. You'll have a chance to see it. No assurance it can be changed before submittal next Tuesday. We're going to do our best. That's just, but if you all saw something that he misinterpreted or I've misinterpreted on my review, that'll have to be cured at a subsequent meeting, likely. So I think I would recommend the motion be subject to what you all discussed here and for purposes of incorporating those revisions, that be this body's recommendation to be submitted to council.
I'll make that motion. What he said.
He made that motion, what he said. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion?
It makes me, yeah. As a lawyer, it makes me a little nervous not to see the final language before it's a recommendation from the board. So I'm just going to put that out there. But I'm happy with what we discussed, so I'll vote aye.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? All right, motion passes. Thank you. And what's the next item on the agenda? Trey, did you wanted to, you had some other pages here. Is there anything you wanted to share with us?
Again, some of the balance of the documentation would be reserved for subcommittee to, on the complaint stuff involving Hub Nashville, and we'll get that meeting scheduled.
Okay.
Was the only thing.
All right. So, any new business, and that will be, you wanted to talk about something?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to keep people here. I know it's 8, past 8. I did want to sort of address the status of our consulting agreement, or the consultants. And I'm a little hesitant to say let's table it to the next meeting because apparently there's going to be a decision that's made, but I mean, I don't know. Does anyone else feel strong? I don't know. I would appreciate other people's opinion on the issue.
I think we need to listen to our lawyer, and we don't want to create any trouble for our contract. But if we can talk about, in general, why having a consultant is important to us without creating a problem for Metro, I think it's appropriate for us to make a statement about how helpful having the services were, or something to that effect.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not, and what I would like to hear, and maybe this can be discussed at the next meeting, Trey, but I would like to hear what the scope of their work was and what they've been able to contribute to us. I do feel that it is important to have experts who do this day to day to help us and to help the board. I wish we had more opportunities to interact with them because I thought that the work that they did with the KPIs last week or at the last meeting was very, very helpful. And so I just want to, I want to make sure that, we're not missing out on a really awesome opportunity to help this board progress forward.
That's fine. We do have some meetings already scheduled to address some of the issues within Department of General Services, and we'll report back.
I can speak on this if that's all right. I agree. Having an expert consultant, I didn't really get to benefit. So I can't speak much to them as a particular consultant. But I'm wondering too, for any reports or things that they produced, do we not have access to those things as the board? And if so, where did they live?
We do have some limited reports from them, but we're going to have to meet with legal and our Department of General Services leadership to review that prior. Again, there's been a lot of topics and subjects that have come from the consultant, not to get into the details, that are completely outside of the functions and direction of what's been established for this board. So we don't want any consultant to set expectations of some things that we just can't do. and that's part of what we need to address and review with what their scope was and what they've provided us.
But does that stop us as the board from seeing what they produced?
I don't think so, but I'll defer to legal on that after we review it and have those meetings.
No.
I can't answer what I don't know at this moment.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
well.
If you're looking for me to answer that.
Well, yeah, weren't they paid out of the board's budget? So
Let me also mention, though, if the
Seems like-
contract has expired, it has to go back through state law
Yeah,
procurement processes, and I don't know who the victor would be for the new proposals.
Yeah, and I'm setting that issue aside even with this particular consultant. I guess my point is, I do think we need a consultant, and I would love to have us do, I don't know what's allowed, like a working meeting with a consultant on a lot of the goals of our board. What are other cities doing? Are there some that are doing something similar? What works? What do they recommend? We have some specific questions, and I would really covet the opportunity to have a time where we could all sit down, I guess, in a meeting. Again, whether it's them or whatever the
We
consultant.
did some of that.
Okay.
We had a presentation they made for us, and I think you can watch it on Channel 3. But if you have the PowerPoint that they use, maybe you can share that as well.
Yeah, we can consolidate that and bring it back up to the forefront. But I do agree with you, Emma. It probably should have utilized them more. But again, some of the direction and stuff that's not consistent with our functions and authorities is some of the issues that we have to address. And like I said, I can't get into the details now, but we'll get that scrubbed here with some internal meetings here the next couple of days, and we'll report back.
Can I just ask two questions? One, part of their scope of work was to work directly with the board, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then my other question is, you mentioned the reports. Can you just describe, were those reports that you asked them to produce and they produced, or what were these reports? I don't think the board.
It wasn't in total, but again, they were contracted to, again, look at all of Metro's policies and procedures related to the functions of this board. They provided a couple reports that outlined their findings. Obviously, with the consultant, they're going to look for gaps and things that work great and things that don't work so great between departments and things of that nature that are related to the functions of this board. They did produce that document. Subsequent documents were inconsistent with direction that they were given on, again, the functions that were outlined for here. And basically, some consultants can.
Excuse me. We don't want to get into too much detail.
Correct.
We want to follow the recommendations of our contracting department, so please don't overshare, I guess.
Understand.
I'll just keep it simple. I mean, I'm going to request those reports. I mean, there's no question that I think we are entitled to see them. So.
Understand. We'll make them available.
Yeah. Well, I'm not trying to censor you or anything. No.
I didn't take it that way.
Okay. Well, this was a great meeting. I appreciate you guys staying. 8:13. You guys want to stay longer and have a beer or something, or are we ready to go? Is there anything else? Any new businesses?
I know we're trying to wrap up. I'm going to be very fast. Since we're talking about getting these materials from the consultant, I wanted to request, kind of as a new member, I don't know what's available, if there's a shared drive or a repository or a Dropbox or historical meeting materials and things from consultants and presentations and maybe that complaint, so we log eventually, so we can be monitoring that kind of in real time rather than you having to email us, a bunch of stuff. Could that live somewhere?
Yeah, it'll all be on nashville.gov on our Contracting Compliance Board webpage.
Well, I get the materials that just the board has access to, though.
Yes.
More of an internal drive. I don't know what the technology options are.
It'll be out on the public website under nashville.gov. I can send you that link.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Because I think what she's asking, they want access to documents that staff can provide, but they may not need to be public facing.
Yes.
And I don't necessarily, again, I'm not saying they aren't entitled to be in public facing, but until we've established that they should be or ought to be and legally can be, like if there's a SharePoint drive or something that the board can access, but you can't comment to one another on, but that would be an option. Other than him emailing and blind courtesy copying each of you so you can't reply to one another, that's one technology. But I'm a
That's
little
exactly
concerned
what
when
I'm
you say
requesting.
it's on the website. I just want to make sure I'm not
I
stepping.
had requested that we try to be transparent with the public and share information that is shareable, that we already discussed on these meetings, to make them available on the website, and Trey was speaking to that. And I don't think that is the same that she's requesting.
Yeah, two things. There'll be public-facing stuff on our website on nashville.gov, and we can establish a SharePoint site internally for the team.
Yes, I would appreciate that.
So I think transparency is important, and that's my personal opinion. I'm sure it's yours as well. All right, so if there are no, thanks for the question. If there are no new business any more new businesses, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion to adjourn and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Thank you so much for all your work. Appreciate it.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.